first little interesting tidbit, at least that I found interesting, is that Kingdom Hearts 3 has shipped more than 5 million copies worldwide, which is kind of crazy. If we go and follow through the link, you'll see Kingdom Hearts tweeted this out. Over 5 million copies of Kingdom Hearts 3 have been shipped worldwide. We'd like to extend a huge thank you to everyone who's joined the journey so far, and we hope you're loving every minute of it. And I bought Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm not a fan of the franchise, according to like what most people are. Most of the other people in my house are crazy fans. When I say I'm not a fan of the franchise, I don't mean I don't like it. I just mean that I haven't played any of the other games. Like, I'm not invested in it whatsoever. And so I have been trying to get into it and trying to work my way through it. It's just not my typical flavor and taste of game, but I'm trying to get through it, and I'll work my way through it. But it is difficult, because if I'm going to critique something like this, how do you critique it when it's not something that was made for you? Like, this game was made for the fans, as it should have been. So for a non-fan to play it is kind of, I don't know, it's just weird, you know? So anyway, it's great. Congratulations to Kingdom Hearts. I'd like to see the stats on the trophies and everything, see how many people are finished with it already, because I'm guessing a pretty decent percentage sprinted their way through it. But either way, congrats to them. 5 million copies is nothing to scoff at, especially when the series has been quote-unquote dormant for a while, even though they've had, you know, kind of side releases. It's still pretty impressive. The next thing I want to show you is an article that has been sent to me kind of all over the place, which is complete rubbish. And this just goes to show you that gaming journalism is more often than not a bit of a joke. And this isn't a personal slight to this website, to the Gaming Junction, or to any of the guys that write for them. It's just pure speculation at its finest. It's not anything really of value. It's just there. And, you know, we all like talking about things that aren't reality. But when it gets to the point where you're actively promoting, and it seems as though there's a lot of this stuff that they just throw in there, kind of like what BuzzFeed does with their news column, where they just say, oh, we spoke to a source and they said this thing that we want them to have said, when in reality there was no source to begin with. That's kind of seems what's going on here. So if we look at this, basically this was that a rumored new Nintendo Switch Mini might be released in 2019. Their sources for this are really, really interesting. So according to Nikkei, which is a Japanese news publication, a newer and smaller version of the Nintendo Switch will be released in 2019, costing lesser, I'd assume less, than the original Switch, but lacking some of the features for portability use, or for portability purpose. See, it's written so poorly I can't even tell. That's why I don't think this is likely a native speaker, considering his name is Shubham. But anyway, so they go on, basically, analyst Michael Pachter, in one of his interviews, oh, really? Oh, this is great. High quality writing, guys. 10 out of 10 IGN. Basically, what he wrote was the Nintendo will launch a new handheld version of the Switch, which will cost $199. And quote, okay, you got a quote from Michael Pachter, which is a quote. Nintendo lowered their sales targets for the year directly to 17 million from 20 million Switches, which might be the reason behind this new console's production. Seems that the company is thinking that this portable version will expand the number of users. Also, Nintendo already has told many of their suppliers and game developers about this smaller Switch and are planning to launch it later this year. No citation or anything. When you click on this year, it follows through to another article they did. So it's just a little baffling. There's no real specificity to it. Plus, they say that dropping expectations from 20 million to 17 million has urged them to bring an entirely new console into production. That's just stupid. More than anything, it's just to keep shareholder expectations in line, and so that they don't expect it to sell like a new console when it's been out for going on 2 years. So there's no indication, at least on that side of things, that anything is going to happen. More than anything, I think the stupid thing about this is that they refer to this smaller Switch as a portable version. Did I miss something? Like, is the Switch not portable? It's pretty damn portable. Apparently it's not, according to this article. But what I like, the one thing I will say, I think that a new Switch version, a variant, could be a good idea and could actually be beneficial across the board. It's not a smaller version, though. What I think they should do is do the Nintendo Switch XL or the Nintendo Switch Elite or whatever they want to call it. And it's a larger version, larger screen, perhaps. Maybe they go from 7 inches to 9.7, something like that. And then they go for 1080p. They go for full HD. If they can get it to be an OLED screen, my life is complete. I tweeted that out a few weeks ago, and I was like, if they can get a Switch that has longer battery life, a larger screen, and an OLED, specifically OLED, my life will be complete. And I don't know about you, but I would be willing to pay for another Switch, even if it's like $399 or $499. If it's got a really high quality screen, nice aluminum construction, it's built like a premium device. My biggest pet peeve with the Switch, let me show you this. We'll do it live. I got my Switch right here with a hair on it. And it is great. I've been happy with it. It's a nice little machine. But within the first like 2 months of use, it was probably the first month, if I'm being completely honest, the kickstand became so flimsy. I'm trying to get the light just right so you can see. It became so flimsy that it would pop out by itself. So you wouldn't even have to try to get it out. It would just swing freely, open and shut. And that covers like the micro SD card. That covers some of the internal electronics. You can't just have that out there, and you can't just take it off. So I actually had to put, if you can see it, I actually had to put some electrical tape across it to hold it shut. And apparently, I looked it up, apparently it's a pretty common thing, and if you reach out to Nintendo, they might send you a new kickstand, which could fix it if it's not something on the inside of the joint within the actual console. But it wasn't really worth my time, and I didn't notice it. So once you're using it, you don't notice it, so, and you can't see it from the front, so who really cares? But like, that's just something that shouldn't have happened. It just shouldn't have. And other things, like there's dents, and I've got a crack up here. Where is it? Yeah, I got a crack and chipping right by the power button, which is also unacceptable for somebody who's using this thing very, very lightly and very gently. It's just, it's built kind of shoddily, and I think that they could improve it. And if they were to release a variant of it with like Apple build quality, I'd be willing to pay a premium. And I think that other people would be as well, specifically because the main holdback of this device is that it's a 720p screen. It's not OLED, so all the blacks are dark grays. And there's also other slight fixes that they could have made, such as implementing Bluetooth for headphones, things like that, which seem like 101, but apparently they couldn't get it in there without raising the price above the $299 threshold. The first analyst breakdown quote I saw for the Switch's production was that it was costing them roughly $294 per Switch to make, which, once you factor in marketing costs and distribution costs, they're losing money selling each Switch. And of course, they make most of that back and then some with the software sales. My brain farted right there. And so like things like that, I think if they could fix, it should be okay. Other things like the headphone jack on top doesn't really make sense because you have to like drape the cable behind it, and then it puts torque on it if you pull it or move it away from you. That's weird. I'm not sure what the alternative is. perhaps like within the Joy-Con, once you take off the right one, you can plug it in right there, because most people, if they're setting it down on the stand and moving away, they could put it there. But once again, Bluetooth headphones, which just fixed that issue completely. It's not a problem anymore. But yeah, just little things like that. The great thing about this article, though, is that they go further with they double down on their stupidity. It's one thing to say stupid things. It's another thing to double down on the stupidity and just make it clear to everyone that you have no idea what you're talking about. Which I should know. I do that a lot. Like, that's basically my career, is to double down on things that I don't know what I'm talking about. So I would know what this looks like. And quite clearly here, they're doing the same thing. So what they go on to say is, although nobody has a piece of exact news about the feature cuts, people are guessing that the Switch might get rid of the dock, making the new console to be more portable for using outdoors. And here's I don't want to beat up too much on this, because I'm guessing that this is written by like a 12-year-old who like made a website, and I mean their website is made through Templateify. If you see this at the bottom, Templateify, in association with Amazon, Best Buy, Microsoft, Rakuten Marketing. Like, what? There is no way this person has any credibility whatsoever. I don't know. Maybe they do, and this is the first I've heard of them. But they shouldn't, because this is kind of sad and frankly a little bit pathetic. But either way, like, I just feel bad. I just feel bad. But as he goes on, so using it outdoors, that's apparently useful. Some are suggesting that the cartridge slot could be removed to focus on expanding downloadable contents support. Okay, so they're apparently going to get rid of the only way of implementing physical media, just the slot, in order to add 128 gigs of storage. No. Rumors suggest that the RAM is said to be increased to 8 gigs, double that of the current console, and storage will be increased to 128. Taking the compatibility in mind, a new processor will be added to the console. The most likely benefits of the processor will be higher frame rates and less time to load. This new Switch might have a 1080p display too. So let me get this straight. They are shrinking the size of the console. They are cutting key features like the ability to use your physical media. If you bought any Switch games with a cartridge, you wouldn't be able to play them on your new console. Furthermore, they say that they're cutting these things in order to lower the price and save space to make it smaller, but then they're going to spend extra money to put in a 1080p display, double the RAM for some reason, add a new processor, and increase the storage to 128 gigs, all while hitting $199. Not like it's just not going to happen. If I have to explain why that's not going to happen, me explaining it wouldn't explain it to you, because you're dim-witted. So, well, like, what could happen is another variant of the Switch that's a premium, like an X size, that's larger, that's higher quality, something like that I could see. Because at the very least, that would make sense, and there would be a market for it. People would buy it and be interested in it. But this, I don't think would ever happen. And it's just... Yeah, no, but this is the issue with gaming journalism, is that there's no, I mean, it's an issue and it's a benefit, is that there's no barrier to entry, so there's always room for people who don't know what they're doing to get in, but the issue is that then people start to listen to it and buy into it, which leads us into our next story, which we talked a little bit about last week. I'm still just utterly baffled. And I just don't understand. I really don't. I wish I did. I don't understand it. So, basically what happened was, once again, Metro Exodus left the Steam store to go over to the Epic Games store, and people freaked out. And we talked a little bit about it last week, but the outrage continues to go on. A singular developer that worked over there said in like a Reddit post or something that like if people kept this up, management over at where they're developing this game they would, at Deep Silver or whatever, they would see that the PC backlash was so much over something so little that they would just not think it's worth the bother, and they would just release on consoles the next time around. So they wouldn't even bother with it. They move on from PC gaming, and they just wouldn't spend the time to develop the port, because if they do something as little as this, it's going to explode. Now, some people will say, like Boogie, who we responded to last week, he made another video saying that it was insensitive or out of touch to think that gamers are willing to just download another launcher and play the game like that. And it's a big inconvenience. Here's the thing. Here's my big issue with all of this. There are real scandals in the gaming industry. There are real things that are crappy, like such as Blizzard and botching all of their Diablo stuff. The fact they thought they could get away with that is asinine and is mind-boggling, and they should be punished for it. They should be discussed ad nauseum. Same with Bethesda for Fallout 76. They thought they could get away with that, and they keep butchering it time and time and time and time and time again. So much so that they even released a patch which reverted the version of the game, reintroducing all the bugs that they had already fixed. Mind-numbing. And we should talk about that. And we should make sure that that scandal lives on so that they learn that they can't get away with it. And that becomes their new magnum opus, that singular event, so that they can never live it down until they live it down by doing something awesome. Just like with No Man's Sky, Hello Games saw that this thing is terrible. We're going to be known for this for eternity. They could have just walked away, closed the gates, closed the doors, locked up shop, gone about their lives, and they could have founded another studio and developed it under another name, another group, and people would have forgotten and moved on. But instead, they went back and they fixed it, and they put so much work into it that now it's a half-decent game, and they've made it back up to their players. That's what we need. When there's a real scandal, we need to make sure that that stands out. This is not one of those scandals. It just isn't. The thing is, a week before this news dropped that Metro Exodus was leaving Steam for the Epic Game Store, everyone was praising Epic for coming on and tackling the giant, tackling the almighty Goliath that is Steam, that seems to think that they're just indebted and obligated to receive our money, that we are mandated and really owe Steam our PC gamer funds, because they have effectively a monopoly on any game that's not like Ubisoft or EA, and I guess now Bethesda. So everyone was praising it. It was this great big event for all of gaming. Everyone was super happy about it and praising it because it would increase competition, lower prices. It seemed like it was going to be a win-win. And they praised the revolution. But gamers, for some reason, only praise the revolution until it creates a minor inconvenience. And then all of a sudden, they turn and the revolution devours itself, which is exactly what's happened. And what's baffling is that on Epic, you can get the game for $10 less than you would have gotten it on Steam, which proves Epic's point, which is that, hey, competition's good. We can save the developers so much money that we can go back and actually go and increase the share that the developer's getting so they make more money. You get the game for a lower price. That's what's good about competition. But instead of being appreciative of that, and the opportunity cost of saving $10 is, oh, I download another launcher, which, let's be honest, a lot of people already have. Even if you don't want to admit it, you probably already have Fortnite installed on your PC. You probably do. I do, because I do. Okay? And so I've already got the launcher. We're already set. And at that point, once it's installed, the only difference, if you're not just launching off of your home screen by double tapping the icon, it's just going and clicking the button right next to the button on your tray. Like, it's not that big of an opportunity cost for saving $10. I don't know about you. I think that little inconvenience is worth $10 for me, at least. Maybe not for you. Let me know in the chat. And after all of this, it's just baffling because we praise the revolution until the revolution starts, and they're like, oh, wait, there might be a minor, and I'm talking minor inconvenience. I don't know. I don't like this. Go back to normal. I want to live in my bubble. If you want progress, if you want this to move on past where it's been with Valve taking 30% of all of these sales, you have to be willing to put up with this inconvenience, which I have trouble even naming as an inconvenience, because it really isn't. It's just a thing that's happening. You press one button instead of the other. But instead, like, inevitably, when this gets uploaded to YouTube, inevitably there's going to be a lot of people down in the comment section who are still upset about this. And I do not understand why. I honestly do not understand. I've tried to look at this so many ways. I've had people tweet me and explain to me. Some people were saying they're primarily upset because Steam, like the game was sold on Steam, people could pre-order it on Steam, and then it was removed, and now you go through Epic. But you can still, like, if you bought it on Steam, you're still getting it on Steam, and it will still get all of the patches and support and everything. It's just sales from now on. If anything, once you find that out, you should cancel your pre-order and go pre-order it on Epic for $10 less and save yourself the money. I don't understand it. It is baffling. Was it the smoothest, silkiest way to do it? Should they have announced this before they even allowed pre-orders on Steam? Probably, just to avoid all the drama. They just announced, yeah, we're only coming out on Epic. Go team. We're saving you $10. Instead, the gamers freak out about it. It's why, to be honest, if they didn't release another Metro game on PC, I honestly wouldn't be shocked. I'd be like, okay, like, yeah, no, we kind of asked for that. If we're gonna put them through the ringer like this for saving us $10 on every copy of the game, why would we deserve to have their game on our platform? Like, it's what bugs me. It's what bugs me. Let's check out some of your chat so I can see what you guys think. Let's see. Aliski says people like competition, but the companies don't, and will make passive-aggressive remarks when it suits them. Yes, that's true. Like, is there a quote here? Steam posted a quote. We talked about it last week. But Steam basically quoted and said that this move was, quote, unfair to Steam customers, especially after a long pre-sale period, end quote. Okay, it's unfair to Steam customers. Is it fair to PC gaming customers? I'd say so, because they're moving and offering you the product for less. I understand that you need to make a point and you need to show everybody that, like, oh, this is bad, but everyone immediately bought into the Valve narrative, which boggles my mind. Do you really think Valve is on your side? Do you really think that this multi-billion-dollar company who released Artifact, just Google Artifact, we talked about it on the show 2 weeks ago. Look up the game Artifact, which is the last game that Valve made. It was filled with predatory microtransactions that were horrendously anti-consumer, built from the ground up to take advantage of their customers and clients. Do you really think that they're on your side? No. Like, they're looking at it like, oh crap, Epic is coming in. They're asking for 18% less on every sale. That's 18% that goes straight to the developer. Yee. Of course developers are going to go and release over there instead of with us, because they're saving so much money. And almost everybody, millions upon millions of people already have the game or the launcher on their computer because Fortnite is the largest game on the planet. And so it's, of course they're freaking out. And so they put out this dumbass PR statement that somehow people buy into, and they do all of Valve's work for them. And I do not understand it. Mainly it's because YouTubers are idiots and we keep doing this crap and promoting it. I do apologize because I think it's just garbage. It's just garbage. Like, it frustrates me because it should not be an issue. The only reason to back Steam is you believe they will be more stable. Well, sure, I could see that. Steam is definitely the longer term solution. You know, Epic is new, and when anything's new, it's a little more variable. But I'm going over, and if a game is available on Epic, I'm buying it on Epic now because I want to encourage the competition. Not to mention that often the prices are lower on Epic anyways. And it doesn't affect, once you're playing the game, it doesn't affect it. Like, oh no, my Steam chat doesn't work. Everybody's chatting through Discord. Like, does anyone really use Steam chat? I don't know, maybe they do. Maybe I'm the odd one out. How long is the license on Steam games anyway? I believe after 35 years or so, the licenses run out or something. Do you mean like once the game is sold on Steam, how long you have access to it and the right to play it? I'm not sure. Yeah, all you have to do is add the launcher.exe into Steam and the problem is solved. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I think we could even do that live. Live right now, if I can get Steam to pull up. You really do. You just have to click a button, import the game. Like I said last week on the show, I have Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey in my Steam library. I bought them on Uplay, but it's on Steam because you can import it and it's all in the same place. So if that's really all you want, if you just want everything in the same place, again, 2 clicks, you save $10 and it's problem solved. Let's see. The backtracking is not a good thing. If it had been on Epic from the beginning, fair enough. They pulled out from Steam. Yeah, and I think that's fair. I do think that that's the one thing that they did kind of butcher. But once again, like, oh no, you pre-ordered on Steam. Cancel your pre-order, get your money back, and then go buy it for $10 less. Yeah, once again, I will say it because it's still true. I do not understand the outrage. It's a lot for a yearly game. If you knew a game was coming out for literally years, that's enough prep time instead of shelling $60 every year. Yeah, for sure. Exactly. It's a comfortable concept in the long term. We just have a very aggressive market. Yeah. And what we're used to, you know, there's also an idea in business, which is that when a customer base is used to, I guess would be the word, a monopoly for a particular thing, once you introduce competition, often they don't actually like it. Oh, we had some frame drops. All right, guys, I figured out what it was. Thank you for being patient. The great thing is that, like, in re-editing this afterwards, I can just cut all of the difficulties out and everything looks like it's going well. So people on YouTube, lucky you don't have to experience the technical issues. No, it was Steam. So Steam is the issue. I opened Steam, right, because we were going to import the thing, and Steam immediately started trying to download a bunch of updates, right? So it's downloading all sorts of updates. It's uploading all of my save files and stuff. And so it immediately hogs all of the bandwidth. So I shut it down, I closed it. Turns out the Steam Bootstrapper still runs in the background. So it was still, even after I closed it, updating and downloading all of this stuff, hogging all of the network. So long story short, we're okay. We're back. And lesson learned, we just don't open Steam when we're streaming. So lesson learned. See, we're learning new stuff all the time. Isn't it great? We're glad to be here. It's like, I don't know if you guys watched or were out. I think not many people were because we were only live for like 5 minutes. But we had a real issue on the live stream. Is the SD card? No, it's not. We were going to play Kingdom Hearts 3, and I was super excited to do it. And I got everything set up, and we were going to live stream late at night. It was going to be fun. And I like started streaming, and there was just this constant buzz. Last week we had it in the podcast, just a steady buzz throughout the whole thing. Couldn't figure out what it was for the life of me. I brought in my Panamax from my home theater system. I brought in like power filtrations. I brought in everything, pulled out all the stops, still didn't work. And turns out it's because the cable from my audio DAC that powers and gets all the data from my microphone and all of that, it was running and touching, just barely, but touching nonetheless, the power cable for one of my big lights up here. And that apparently introduced enough interference that the whole thing crashed and was causing bzzz, and it was terrible. So it caused the stream to have to stop. It was terrible. It was awful, but we eventually fixed it. You know, this is what it is. We gotta go through progressive improvements and try to figure out what we're doing. But what were we even talking about? We were talking about all of the Epic stuff. Yeah, long story short, I don't get it. I think it's terrible for the industry. I think it's terrible for PC gaming for us to make this a big scandal, because it's not a scandal. It's something good. To argue that it's anti-consumer is just stupid, and I don't think you can defend that point reasonably. And I think the only reason you see YouTubers doing it and gaming journalists talking about it and making it a thing is because people will click on it. And like I said last week, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Steam is sending some emails to people and being like, hey, we really feel that this is anti-consumer, and we really feel like you should feel that way too. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Because it's so mind-numbingly horrible. What are your thoughts on Apex Legends dropping out of nowhere? Kind of refreshing, in my opinion. Well, I think that's the only way you can really do this. I don't think I don't think you can have the world's biggest game advertised heavily. And I know that sounds contradictory, but I just think that that's part of what makes these games so fun and exciting, is that they're new and different and secretive and nobody really knows anything about them. They're surprising. It's fresh. It's different, like you just said. And I think that I think that that's part of the benefit of it. Like Fortnite kind of came out of nowhere. No one expected it to take over PUBG's market. Instead, it was like a fun thing. It was a game that you paid for. And then all of a sudden it was popular and was getting all of these clicks. Hideo123, thanks for the sub. I'm guessing that's through YouTube. But thank you nonetheless. So I think it's good, but I think that that's the way it's going to have to be. And I think that's where the gaming industry is going, is it's only going to be out of nowhere announcements. And I think that that's what they're waiting for with like The Last of Us Part 2 and some of those other games that don't have an official date yet. I think they're just waiting. They'll drop it. They'll be like, hey, it's November 25th. You're going to get to play this before Christmas. Have fun. Go look forward to it. And I think that that drives way more hype than, hey, are you ready? You've known the date, the release date is coming, and it's been a year coming on. Let's get ready. I think that out of nowhere surprise is really good. I haven't played Apex Legends yet, but I am going to try it for sure, because it seems fun enough. Do you think it's reasonable for companies to make their own launchers that take up a ton of space on our comps? Well, initially, I first of all disagree with the premise. I don't think these launchers take up a ton of space. I understand that I'm kind of spoiled and I have an exception to the rule, right? My PC is not the average gamer's PC. I fully recognize that. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't see the, like, even 100 megs or 200 megs as an exceptional allotment, especially when you're adding it into a game. Like, say I am playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and I have to download Uplay to play it. Uplay is what, like 100 megs? Max 200 megs. Okay, I download that. That's like a rounding error with regard to the game's actual unpacked file load. So I'm not that worried about it. And if it means that the developers are getting a larger cut for the work that they're putting into it, I'm all for it. You know, Steam taking 30% is just outrageous. It's huge. And I think the competition is very, very good. How big are their launchers? Do you know? Bethesda's launcher and Epic's launcher. Do you know how big they are? Once all is installed and unpacked, I'd be very interested in hearing. Because once again, I think when we're grasping at straws to try to find a scandal that, like, oh, Epic is doing this and it's terrible because, and it's anti-consumer specifically, that's the accusation. We can't get away from that because that's the accusation being made. It's terrible and horrible because the launcher is larger than, or as large as Steam. I don't understand how that makes sense. What's Microsoft or Sony's cut on consoles? Well, that's a little interesting because they sell the hardware, and especially for the first 2 years, the hardware is sold usually at cost or below cost. So they're, like I talked about with the Switch earlier, they sold the Switch at a loss, and so the cut they're getting is to make up the hardware sales that allows players to play on it. But let's see, Sony's cut of PS4 titles. Let's see, do they... Nope, that doesn't tell me anything. Of game sales, maybe. This looks close. GameSpot. Game developers only get about $1 profit per game. That's not true. I mean, I guess profit, I guess you could argue. This article is saying 11.5%. 11.5%. So if you sell, I mean, then you have to factor in like the marketing and if you're going through retail, like you've got to give Best Buy a good markup for selling your game and things like that. So with the console owner taking like 11.5% and then say Best Buy takes 15, you know what, to like 26.5%, you're still taking 75% of it to pay off your marketing, manufacturing costs, and any licensing deals. So it's not horrendous. It's just, you know, this is what happens when you sell a product. It gets split. It gets split. It's not like they're making $60 on every game. There's a lot of people that need to get a cut. 300 megs for Bethesda. I mean, 300 megs for Bethesda doesn't shock me. They are bad at most things. It's like with Fallout 76. People were saying Fallout 76 is this big master plan. And like my conspiracy theory video that I made trying to explain Fallout 76, I wasn't saying that all of this was some big master plan that they planned, like, oh, the hatred for our company is going to be planned. More than anything, it's that their initial idea for Fallout 76 was chosen because they were going to approach it and try to, I suppose, prove to the executives, make a point, and then also get the staff on board that they would need for the big games that they're going to be making in the next few years. So that part kind of makes sense, and I think that video explained that in at least a decent enough way. Where I think that Bethesda didn't foresee any of this is that they didn't realize how incompetent they are, as people rarely do. Not many people realize that they're idiots until it's too late. It's just true. If they ever realize it. Usually idiots don't realize they're idiots, ever. So I understand, I suppose, where it initially was going, and I can appreciate where they wanted it to go, but it crashed and burned because they're idiots. Once again, never attribute to malintent or malice or evil intent what can be explained easily by pure unadulterated stupidity. And I think that there's no other way to explain Bethesda than by saying it's pure stupidity, because with regards, like the patch that they just posted that reintroduces all of the same glitches that they previously got rid of, that's not some big master plan to get people to see the game back in the news again. They're just idiots. It's that simple. They're just stupid. And if you look back through years and years of news, this is not the first time it's been like this. This is just the first time that people have been reporting on it. With Fallout 4, there were glitches like this all over the place. People just didn't report on it. And I remember I was making videos and I was getting crap for saying that the game was broken and inexcusable. But for some reason, nobody reported on it. And then Fallout 76, it becomes cool to hate on Bethesda, and so the crap finally catches up to it. So I'm glad that it's happening, but it's still just stupid. Yeah, I don't know. The next Fallout game, they've got a lot of work to do. But that's one thing. Like, when there's a scandal and we hold their feet to the flame, it's good because it forces them, if they want to make a rebound, they've got to really make a rebound. They got to go above and beyond and just hit it out the park. But it takes a lot more work. It's like with the PS3. The PS3 initially launched at $599, and it was way more expensive than the 360. Their launch titles were kind of meh compared to some of the stuff that the Xbox had with Halo and the like. And the Xbox seemed to be just hitting it out of the park again and again and again. And Sony really had to catch up, and Sony's architecture was way harder for developers to work with. So their games tended to be way more glitchy on the PS3 than on the Xbox. A notorious issue with the PS3. And the way they made it up was with fantastic exclusives, and they worked their butt off, and then they made it up to customers. And then Xbox blew it with the Kinect stuff, making sure that the Kinect was something that you had to buy, and if you didn't like it, just don't buy our console, which was again another marketing snafu. And now it's going the other way, with Microsoft nailing it time and time again with the pro-consumer side. They just announced that Xbox Live is going to have support for the Nintendo Switch, so that if you're on Xbox or PC, you can play with people on the Switch, which is awesome. That's very, very pro-consumer. Just like discounting games by $10 because you're lowering the price and improving it. It's just, I don't need to say anymore. Good Lord. Yeah, I don't think, the one thing I will say to defend Bethesda, and I guess this will be the closing point, everybody gives them crap for the Creation Engine. The Creation Engine, is it old and outdated? Yes. Is it old and outdated specifically because the engine itself is years and years old or was used in Morrowind? No. There's a difference. With like the Red Engine that they used, Red Engine 3, that they used for The Witcher 3. They had been using that for going on a decade. So it was an old engine, right? But it wasn't old and outdated because they went through, they cleaned out the crap, and then they polished up the good stuff and put in a bunch of new pots and pans and freshened it up. That's what you need. Like the Rage engine that Rockstar uses is an old quote-unquote engine. It's been used for a long time, but they update it, they clean out the crap, and then they update it with the new stuff. Unreal Engine, used for years and years, exactly the golden nugget. Exactly. They used it over and over and over again, but they polish it and they cut the fat. The issue is that Bethesda doesn't do that. Like we said, they're just bad at coding. They're bad at what they do. And so they don't trim the stuff. It's like in that No Clip documentary. I don't know if you guys watched it. I recommend it. It's pretty good. On the making of Fallout 76, they explained that when they were revving up to do it, they had to go back through and they had to redo the engine so that it could work online, because they had to make sure that the game would stream data to each character, that it wouldn't break when you tried to interact with items in the world, that also could eventually be impacted by what other people were doing. Things like that. And so they went back and he said, oh, you'd be going through the code and you'd be like, oh, they used that for Morrowind. That's really cool. They used that for that game that I was playing when I was just out of college. That's awesome. Is that awesome? It sounds terrible. It sounds like your company doesn't know what they're doing, because if they knew what they were doing, they would trim that fat, because that fat is what leads to unaccounted exceptions in the code, which leads to glitches and breaks. But they leave it in because they think it's cool, I suppose. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. Yeah, I am so excited to see what they do at E3. I tomorrow am applying for the press badge for E3 this year. So hopefully I can go and maybe even meet some of you guys out at E3. Good Lord, I'm so excited to see what they try to pull. Like what they try to pull with their E3. I wouldn't be surprised if they just bail, if they just don't show up, you know, just accept it. Or maybe they announce some big expansion to Fallout 76 and they better make it free. If they charge anything for one of their expansions, once again, it's just going to be another scandal that they would dare charge after putting their customers through the ringer like this. But we'll see. That's the big thing, I think, is if the first expansion they charge for, that'll be interesting. I'm really excited. E3 is, I believe this year, it's like the 11th through 13th of June. Sony is not going, but and Xbox, Microsoft does their stuff to the side. So most of the dev conferences, like their press conferences, are separate in separate buildings and theaters. They don't go officially through E3 so that they can buy their own stuff and run their own schedule, and they don't have to worry about separate press badges and things like that. But what they do is that they will implement their games and bring their demos to the game floor at E3. So it's kind of separate, but it's also together. It's kind of weird. But Sony apparently is just not going to be present because apparently they just don't have enough to make a full show, which, you know, makes sense. If you don't have enough to show, why make a multi-million-dollar stream out of it? It wouldn't really make sense. Especially last year's was kind of weird with like the tent and then they moved everyone back into the regular theater. It was just kind of, weird. It was kind of weird. Do you think EA has the balls to make a Star Wars Battlefront 3? I don't think they would name it that. I don't think that they would. I think they're working on other Star Wars projects, as we know, but, and I think we'll see one of them at E3. I don't think it'll be in the Battlefront franchise, I suppose. I think it'll either be, yeah, I think it's going to be something new and different because I think they realize they've just blown that. The reason that they released it as a Battlefield game is because that Battlefield title held a lot of weight and a lot of nostalgic value. They've blown that, so there wouldn't be a lot of reason to do it. If anything, there's a lot of weight and unnecessary bulk to that that's holding them back. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, no, I think that's good. Sorry once again for the technical issues. Once again, it's funny that I'm bashing Steam while we're talking about it, and then the stream goes and starts having major issues, and then it turns out that it's Steam that's having it. Maybe that's karma. Maybe that's what I get. Steam tries to sabotage the stream while we're doing it. Oh, it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. They're trying to do it. They're trying to take us down. We will not be silenced, though. Anyway, if you're watching this on YouTube, even if you're live on Twitch with us right now, make sure to go over, subscribe, keep an eye out for the 10-hour live stream we'll do. I'd like to do that live stream on YouTube because it makes sense that, hey, we're live streaming on YouTube because we hit 100,000 subs on YouTube. But YouTube has been having a lot of issues where they've been taking away my live streams abilities and all of that. It's really stupid. So we might have to stream it on Twitch and then upload it to YouTube. As ironic as that sounds, that's just what YouTube's become. That when you hit 100,000 subscribers, because the platform is so variable, you might have to stream on Twitch. That's where we're at. But yeah, my voice is freaking out. I need to be careful. Proper form, Luke. Proper form. And as always, if you want a good t-shirt like this, stupid people are stupid. One of my catchphrases that I say all the time. All the time. Totally not lying about that. Then make sure to check out the merch store. It's super cool, super Gucci. And I will appreciate it. Hello, Joey Lamana. Yeah, it seems like there should be more syllables to that, but it looks like it's just that. 10 hours, what sort of time would that run? Would that be an all-nighter? Probably I'd run it, like we'd start probably 6-ish hours before we started this stream, if that means anything to you. So in the States, it would basically run all day, a little bit into the night and evening. Mainly just because I want to make sure that we can catch a lot of people and play all sorts. We're going to be doing Jackbox games, so I can actually play with you. We can have fun. Things like that. It'll just be fun, you know. You put up the room code, first person to get in, first people to get in, and we get to play, and we go, and we have fun. It'll be fun. Plus, it's just a good excuse because I'm very excited that I will be able to get Raising Cane's chicken, and it's my special day, so I don't have to explain it to anybody. As for when that is going to be exactly, I'm working on final details. It won't be right when we hit 100,000 subs. It'll be like a celebration afterwards. But I am going to film myself once we go past the ticker and hit 100,000. So keep an eye out for that. Lots of fun stuff happening. Thank you again for watching. I love you all. Honestly and truly, I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. I love you. Bye-bye. Hugs and kisses. Love you forever. Let's get married. Bye.